He's with us. Joining us from Washington, Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat, who represents the Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena area and serves as the chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Congressman, thanks for taking the time.
It's great to be with you.
I'd like your response to what the president said last week during the State of the Union and his comments specifically about you and your probe.
An economic miracle is taking place in the United States, and the only thing that can stop it are foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations. If there is going to be peace and legislation, there cannot be war and investigation. It just doesn't work that way. He's just a political hack who's trying to build a name for himself, and I think that's fine because that's what they do.
What is your response to all that, Congressman?
Well, clearly the president is alarmed by the idea of any congressional oversight, and I can understand why. For 2 years during this Republican Congress in the past, there's no oversight whatsoever. So this is something new for the president to get used to. What he needs to understand is we're a co-equal branch of government. Oversight is a key part of our responsibility. It's something the founders intended for Congress to do. It would be impossible for us to be a co-equal if we weren't looking into allegations that the administration wasn't following the law or was guilty of corruption or was involved in malfeasance. So we're going to do our jobs, and he can attack all he wants or criticize or call names. And I've been the subject of presidential name calling in the past. I'm sure I will be again. He ought to do his job. Put down the Twitter account, spend less time in executive time, spend more time focused on doing his job. But we're going to do our job regardless, and part of our job is to make sure that the president is not being motivated by financial interest, that he's working in our nation's interest and not being corrupted by some foreign power. The president has tried to draw a red line around his finances. That's a problem, and we saw just how clearly a problem that is as we learned more and more about Trump Tower Moscow. And these are the facts just in the public record. They're damning enough. And what we know is that during the presidential campaign, at a time when the president was telling the country he had no business dealings with the Russians, he was trying to secretly negotiate what may have been the most lucrative deal of his life, something that, according to the special counsel's office, stood him to make hundreds of millions of dollars, this massive tower in Moscow. It's also been reported that they were offering Putin a penthouse for free in that tower. But more significant, they were seeking the Kremlin's help. They were seeking Putin's help to make that deal happen. At the same time, the Russians were seeking from the Trump campaign relaxation of sanctions that would have made the Russians billions. So Trump stood to earn hundreds of millions. The Russians stood to make billions. And the president was deceiving the country about all of this. That is, of course, deeply compromising. Whether that is the length and breadth of it or whether it's even worse than that, we don't know. But, of course, the president denied all of this, and we can't rely on his further denials now as a reason to avoid looking into this question.
This week, the publisher of the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, in an online post indicated he was being blackmailed, he said, by David Pecker, the head of American Media Incorporated, owners of the National Enquirer, that he, Mr. Bezos, better not say certain things about the Enquirer, such as its links to the president, or they will publish photos of Mr. Bezos of a compromising nature that had been hacked. Is your committee interested in all of this?
Well, I'm interested to this degree. There are also allegations that the party that hacked Jeffrey Bezos' emails or text messages or photo library to get these photos that the Enquirer was trying to use allegedly to blackmail Mr. Bezos. The allegations are that the Saudis may have been involved in that. Now, I have no idea whether that's true or not. Obviously, if anyone enlisted a foreign intelligence service to help discredit an opponent of the president, that's a serious issue that we would be very concerned about. We're already concerned with the reliance the administration has placed on Saudi Arabia. We're concerned about what the president has said about how much money he makes from the Saudis, and that's why he loves the Saudis so much. We're concerned about why the president has dissembled so often about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi and appeared to be trying to protect the Crown Prince. So if there's any relationship between these, obviously that would be of deep interest and concern to us.
Chuck Todd of Meet the Press in the last hour suggested that you are more than anyone else going to be the focus of the president's wrath going forward. You're from Los Angeles, liberal LA. He was close to Devin Nunes, your Republican predecessor. One of the anchors on Fox and Friends, for example, which the president watches on the Fox News channel, suggested that Mr. Trump use his personal attorney to investigate you. Are you ready for this? Is your family ready for this?
You know, we certainly have discussed it as a family, and I think you're absolutely right. The president, for whatever reason, views me as a threat. One of the terrible realizations for me of the last 2 years has been that the damage the Russians did by interfering in our democracy, the danger from that is far less than the danger to the health of our democracy that comes from this presidency. The attacks on the rule of law, the efforts to make the press, a free press, the enemy of the people, denigrating judges based on their ethnic origin, undermining the independence of the Justice Department. The Russians aren't capable of doing any of this, but the administration is. So I'm going to do my job. Yes, I don't enjoy being the subject of threats, and when he does spin people up in the right-wing sphere, we get death threats, we get profane calls, we get all the rest of that. But none of that is going to deter me. I've got an important responsibility, which I intend to do to the best of my ability.
Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat from Burbank. Congressman, thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you.